All right, let's move on to identifying market flow. Okay, identifying market flow is a special part in our price action manipulation program, right? Where what we the lingos that I use when I actually analyze a particular market, I will use the term called upflow or downflow. Okay, upflow or downflow. Okay, so right now I'm going to cover the what do we mean by a flow. Before we do that, you need to first understand what is this thing called a simple moving average. We call it in short form, SMA, right? It's basically this line, right? For those of you who are familiar with some technical analysis, as you can see, this particular yellow line is what we call the 50 simple moving average. You can see over here at the indicator here, right? The simple moving average 50. So it's basically a line that's being plotted. You don't have to calculate yourself. It's being plotted by the platform, okay, to actually draw this particular line. It serves as a reference point. Some people call it a dynamic support or resistance line. In price action, we use the 50 simple moving average. Okay, basically it's calculated in the last is a running last 50 bars closing price average. Last 50 closing price average running. It is dynamic, it's real time, it's real time. Okay, so this is an important line that we use it to check for this thing called a flow. Okay, you can read more about the definition. So I'm just going to write a key in here. So we term the 50 SMA as this thing called a price action flow checker. Okay, so remember this, we're going to only when we are going to use only the 50 SMA for price action flow checker. It can be used for any time frame, specific time frame you are trading. So if you are trading this the 1 year, 2 day time frame, or the 4 year 1 week time frame, it is specific to the time frame you're looking at. Understand? So if you're looking for the flow in the week chart, you look at the week chart. You're looking at flow at the 2 day chart, you look at the 2 day chart. Understand? So for as long as the price action is above 50 SMA, we say that it's an upflow. Below 50 SMA, we say that it's in downflow. So one is upflow, one is downflow. So it's we keep it simple, right? As long as price is above 50 SMA, we say that it's in upflow. If price is below 50 SMA, we say it's in downflow. Okay, but there are certain ways that we're going to use it. We don't just look at because there will be times, of course, you will know that there will be times when price tests the 50 SMA for a short period of time. So I'm going to share a few examples later on how to decipher all this. Okay, so again, price action can either be upflow or downflow, right? So it's because there's a reference line there, the 50 SMA. It can either be up or down, and especially we're going to use upflow, downflow mostly for continuation trades later on, especially in level 2 of the class. Okay, but over here right now, I'm going to teach you so that you understand when we cover, right, when we go into market analysis, when I cover this thing called upflow, downflow, you understand basically what we do mean by this term. Okay, so let's go into this example over here. So as you can see here, the yellow line is this yellow line here, right, is your 50 SMA. So generally, if the price is above, right, see the price, see my cursor here, the price is above the 50 SMA, right, the price means the bars here, the price action bars here, we say that it's an upflow. So we do this thing called a bar counting. We always count, mark my take note, we always count the first bar that close below or above the 50 SMA as number 1. If up to 5 bars, the price action continue to be in the other side of the flow, we say that the flow has changed. Okay, I'll give you an example here. So you can see here that there's a red bar here, right? There's a red bar here that close below the yellow 50 SMA. So we call this the first bar. And then the first bar, second bar, third bar, fourth bar, fifth bar. By the fifth bar, we all can see that it's still below the 50 SMA, right? So we say that since by the fifth bar, the flow is below the 50 SMA, we say that the flow has changed from positive to negative flow. Understand? So we do this thing called a bar counting. And there's another time when the price action attempts to change the flow again over here. Can you see my cursor here? Right? So there's this green bar that goes above the 50 SMA. We call this the number 1 bar, the first bar. By number 2, number 3, number 4. By number 4 bar, it closed back down below the 50 SMA. We say that the flow is unchanged because it didn't, by the 5th bar, it didn't close above the 50 SMA. So it was just like a temporarily, like price. It's normal that price temporarily go and test the 50 SMA but comes back down. We say that here the negative flow remains intact. The negative flow remains intact. In fact, the flow change here again. This number 1 over here, number 2. By number 2, it goes back down. So the entire price action here is in negative flow because the flow didn't change, right? The flow didn't change. The flow remains negative all the way. So this will guide you when you're trading certain charts, right? Okay, you know that the flow is now negative, and if you're long, you will tend to let go most of your long positions or lighten your long position because of the change in flow. Okay, so change in flow is a signal of market turning into a sustained direction, let's say in the downtrend. Okay, over here. So of course over here the price, you can see the price move back up. The first bar is this one, the first bar, second, third, fourth, fifth. By the 5th bar, it changed from negative flow back to positive flow. We say that now the price, it has changed from negative flow to positive flow. Understand? So I'm giving you 3 examples over here. Basically, we do bar counting up to 5 bars. The first bar that touch or cross the 50 SMA, we turn it as the first bar. Okay, and we want to count up to 5 bars. Okay, up to 5 bars. If the bar did not comes back down, we say that flow has changed. All right. And so we use it on, like I said, we can use it on 1 year 2-day chart, 1 year 1-day chart, or even weekly chart, right? If you're doing swing trading on the weeklies. You can see that the market here, over here, temporarily touched the 50 SMA, but we all know that, let me just take this away. But we all know that this is just the first bar that touches the 50 SMA here, the first bar, second bar. By the second bar, it goes back up above. So the entire price movement here is in positive flow. Okay? It's only this part that's a bit tricky here. So the market tests the 50 SMA. So this is the first bar, second bar, third bar, fourth bar, fifth bar. So by the 5th bar, it goes back up above the 50 SMA. So we say that the flow remains valid. But then again, the next bar closed below. So we do the counting again. So this is the first bar again. It closed below, second, third, fourth, fifth. By the 5th bar again, by the 5th bar, right? By this 5th bar, it becomes clear that the flow is negative. So the flow has struggled to maintain around the 50 SMA, but by the second attempt, it has broken significantly by the 5th bar below the 50 SMA. So we say that the flow is negative, right? So flow is like a big truck moving. Usually, once the flow has changed, the movement is sustained for a period of time. Same thing here over here. As you can see, right? This is the first bar that touched the 50 SMA. Second bar, third bar, fourth bar, 5th bar. By the 5th bar is still above the 50 SMA, we say that the flow is in positive flow. In fact, for the rest of the year, this is 2019, by the way, where you have a lot of trade war news, right? If you're looking at the flow carefully, the weekly flow carefully, you will know that all this attempt to break below the 50 SMA is weak. they cannot close above below 50 SMA. In fact, the price maintained above the 50 SMA, and hence for the most part of 2019, right? My traders and I, all my students, we are all positive flow oriented. Most of our trades are long, and if you are following the long side, most of your trade will be profitable because you are in the same flow of the direction of the market. Okay, so that's how you even without looking at macro news, right? Or you just focus on the price action of the market to align your direction bias when picking up trades. Okay, and this is also one of the important lessons that I need to let you know, right? To identify this thing called a price trend. So, so what do we mean by a uptrend? Okay, uptrend. So the general characteristic, right? The general characteristic is that you want to see for uptrend a higher high, higher lows in price movement, or basically a general upside price movement. Okay, so these are can be one or both. Can be one of these factors or both of these factors. One of these factors or both. Okay, we say that it's a characteristic. So when we say that it's an uptrend, basically we would tend to see price moving up, generally up, or you can see higher highs, right? Or higher lows, right? Higher lows. We say that it's an uptrend. Okay. Once you see that price is making lower lows, like this lower making lower lows, we say it's in downtrend, right? Lower highs, lower highs. It's in temporary downtrend, higher highs, higher lows. And the price movement, you know that is in general 45 degrees upside, we say that is in uptrend. So that's basically how you identify uptrend or downtrend in price movement. Okay, if you cannot determine whether it's higher highs or higher lows, or whether it's upside or downside general price movement, then generally it most likely will be a sideways market. Okay, when in doubt, it's usually a sideways market, because if it's trending up nicely, it should be clear, it should be distinct, it should be obvious to you, or a downtrend market. When it's in doubt, usually it's a sideways market. Okay, so we also define over here this example, another example, right, of uptrend. So it's very clear that you can see that general price movement is up, higher highs, sorry, higher highs, higher lows. Sometimes the low may be lower, but generally it's up, and then later it go back up higher, so it's okay, because price don't do a zigzag nicely up. Sometimes it may zigzag up, then drop a bit, then zigzag up, but generally, because we can still see that it's higher highs. Understand? So don't take it as just a very strict criteria where if you see a temporary dip, the lower low means it has changed. You still have to observe whether the general movement is up or down. Understand? Because sometimes it may make a lower low temporarily, but later make back a higher highs. Understand? So we still term it as uptrend price movement. And our definition for downtrend price movement is that we're going to see lower lows and lower highs and lower lows in price movement. Sorry, lower lows and lower highs. Lower highs and lower lows in price movement. Same thing, general downside price movement. So obviously this is the uptrend, right? Then turn into downtrend. Generally, if you see that price is trending down, okay, you would be able to tell that the when the price is trending up, it would generally be above 50 SMA. When the price is trending down, it generally will be below 50 SMA, right? Because again, the 50 SMA is the average of the last 50 bars. If the last 50 bars trending down, generally they will be below the 50 SMA as well. Okay, so these are some common market characteristics that we observe as traders, right? So you can see that price is making lower lows, lower highs, lower highs, lower lows, lower lows. However, over here you can see that price may be changing, right? I'm going to let you see. This is a sign that price action may be changing, because here you tend to observe that no price may no longer making lower lows, it's actually making higher highs. Agree? And actually making higher highs, even though it's still below 50 SMA, but this could be an early sign of a small uptrend forming. Understand? Of course, this is a loose way of identifying trends, loose way. Whether to long or short, again, you still have to rely on the strategy structures. And in fact, actually over here for KHC, which is Kraft Heinz, right, which is a stock it's a Warren Buffett stock that is in some negative news for in 2019, right? There's some negative news affected the stock prices, came all the way down, and actually somewhere over here is what we call a DR1 structure that you're going to learn in the subsequent lesson for reversal. Okay, so in fact, this actually is a DR1 structure for you to go long, and there was a mini uptrend currently. Okay, so that's how we identify the term uptrend or downtrend in price movement. All right. So this is another example of price making lower lows, generate price direction down, right? Lower lows, lower highs, sorry, lower highs, lower lows, until there's no more lows, but you see that, okay, suddenly there's a higher highs, right? Higher highs. So this is probably a sign that the market may be changing direction soon, right? Maybe changing, and especially when you go above the 50 SMA, there'll be signs that this could be a change of trend, right? For General Electric, for example, over here. Understand? So we say that the price is in downtrend, but now at the bottom, it's no longer in downtrend. There are signs of him turning back into an uptrend. All right. All right, we have covered the lesson on trade mechanics and identify market flow and price trends, some of the fundamentals in trading. So I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Right, this is Elson, and I will see you in the subsequent video lessons as well as we cover more into price action manipulation. I'll see you then.